here. Today is sauce bechamel in our 5 mother sauce series. Lots of wonderful uses. It is a mixture of a roux and milk that comes together in a creamy, velvety sauce. Things like pot pies that creamy insides make them bechamel. Roulades often have a little bit of a creaminess on the inside. Bechamel. Any type of nice plated creamy sauce. And then a bechamel turns into something called a mornay sauce. That's how we make cheese sauce, guys. Totally cool. So lots of uses for a bechamel sauce, also called a white sauce. Those are my mac and cheese sliders. I'll have a link below. You guys got to check that out. A great use for bechamel. So here's our ingredients. We're going to use high quality butter, some flour, some whole milk, some nutmeg. We're going to use half of an onion, and a cool ingredient, some cloves. And this is a very traditional, classic French bechamel. So we're going to start off making our roux. We're going to get some butter in there. Got 4 tablespoons. We're making a bechamel. So usually a roux is equal parts flour and butter. In this case, since there's a good bit of fat inside of the milk, we're going to use 4 tablespoons of butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. Bring them together. It's going to create a lighter roux instead of a thicker roux, which is cool. It's going to give us a little more time to cook the sauce and let the flavors that we're going to add to it get into the sauce. They're going to kind of steep together and get happy. So what I'm doing right there is I'm cooking out the flour. If you don't do this process and you just pull it together and start adding milk, you're going to get a little bit of gritty and graininess. So it's very important at that point to cook out the flour, and that's done while making the roux. So cool. So we're going to start off there by putting about 1/3 of the milk and let everything come together and get happy. Once we start noticing a little bit of thickness, we're going to add the rest of the milk in there. And then we're going to stir, stir, stir. We're going to notice it's going to try to thicken on us. We're on medium-high heat right now, and we're going to go ahead and finish and bring it up to the soft boil, which is where it just starts breaking the surface like that. We're not trying to scald the milk. And then we're going to stir, 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 and it's going to thicken. That's what the heat does. It reacts with the roux and causes it to thicken, which is cool. So here's a really classic ingredient for this, nutmeg. Nutmeg is delicious. It puts a very fragrant note in there. And when it comes to bechamel, something that can be an elegant sauce, this is one of the key ingredients. So it's more delicate. The mace is the outside part of the nutmeg, and that's what we're going to get most of right here. It's a lighter flavor. It's not as strong in flavor forward as full-on nutmeg. So something to consider. If you just have nutmeg, no problem. This freshness it's this full-on classic, the way a chef would do it. So nutmeg's pretty cheap. You can usually find that in your bulk aisles. It's available nowadays. Really cool ingredient, guys. All right. Bay leaves are classic too. You could add them. I think it changes the flavor too much. I don't use them myself, but that's what we're looking for. We want to see that it's thickened. It'll coat the back of the spoon. That's the viscosity we're going for. So here's what you would do first before you even think about making the sauce, is we're going to prep our onion, and we're going to use clove. Once again, a very classic ingredient here. I think a lot of folks on television don't make a classic bechamel, but we're doing classic today. So the very tip of the clove, that's where all the flavor is. My chef in culinary school said, you never use that part because it's too strong and it'll overpower the dish, the sauce. And I totally agree with him here. So go ahead and pull those little end pieces off, and we're going to use 7 of them. It's a fairly strong flavor. We don't need a ton of it. On a half of an onion. Now with the heat off, we're going to put this in upside down, and we're going to cover it. Now the sauce is still warm. We just turned the heat off. The sauce is going to continue to thicken, and those flavors are going to get in there, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes to let everybody get happy there. And then you guys are